Golf courses were the first thing to reopen yesterday as Alberta begins its multi-stage process to relaunch the economy. Medical services like non-essential surgeries, dentists, physiotherapists will resume on Monday, with other businesses following suit over the next few weeks and months. But look, Alberta has had a brutal time, still seeing a high number of new coronavirus cases. They got the collapse of the price of oil, the flooding in Fort Mac. Are they moving too soon to reopen? Let's talk about all that and the federal government's gun ban. The Premier Jason Kenney joins us now. Premier Kenney, I hope you and your loved ones are doing well, and I know your province is going through just an absolutely brutal time. Just let's start on the reopening. A lot of folks are saying it's just too soon. It will be a setback and a second wave. How do you open golf courses when you're still seeing more new cases of COVID?
Well, Evan, until there is an effective widespread vaccine or herd immunity, there will continue to be new cases of COVID in Alberta and everywhere across the world. The question is not eliminating the risk, because that is effectively impossible. It is managing the risk. And while we are getting new cases, that's partly the new cases here are larger than other provinces because of our effective testing. We've been leading not just Canada, but the world in the per capita incidence of COVID-19 testing. So we do reveal more cases. But here's the good news. Far, far fewer of those cases relatively end up in hospitals. So we've had very low levels of hospitalization and ICU admission. A fraction of the per capita ratio of hospitalizations in Ontario, Quebec, or European countries, some US states. So we're so far below the maximum capacity of our health system and our models, we feel that we can now prudently move forward with a cautious and gradual reopening.
But Premier, one of the issues all leaders deal with, have to deal with this and this, and there's no sugarcoating. This is a really brutally difficult decision, balancing the health of your citizens with the health of the economy, which also is critical, is how do you prove the negative? For example, maybe you don't have people in the ICU beds and the hospitalization, which is good, because of all the social distance and unleashing golf courses and other things. Maybe that triggers a second wave. How are you sure that won't happen?
Well, we're going to monitor the numbers very closely. And if we do see a significant spike, particularly in hospitalizations, then we'll slow down the reopen. We've been very clear about that. We're going to be, and I said to Albertans in my televised address 3 weeks ago that we can't let the virus loose in a way that would force us to just shut things down even more strictly, which would do even more damage. So obviously we have to balance these things out, but taking an absolute zero risk, shut it all down until there's a vaccine sometime in 2021, in my view, that would be irresponsible.
So what's the speed? I mean, I think we're all in the same case. You can't shut things down forever, but the politics comes with when. Quebec, they're going to let by May 11th and the May 18th in Montreal, elementary and primary kids back to school. Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, I think as long as they do it safely, they can minimize the risk. And we do know that children have an extremely low level of vulnerability to COVID-19. Here in Alberta, we are taking a different approach. We're going to allow limited reopenings on a trial basis. Some individual schools might come to us, or school boards, and we might allow for very limited reopenings. But as a general rule, we won't be reopening the schools until later this year. Look, every jurisdiction is going to take a slightly different approach, and there's something good in that. We can learn from each other.
Are you concerned that people are going to get confused? And you use the phrase, the letter rip. Like, some people are going to say, wow, look, they're golfing in Alberta, they're doing different things in Saskatchewan, they're doing it in BC, there's a patchwork going on. Some people said, this is all overblown, screw it, I'm just going to do my own thing. Doesn't that concern you?
Well, it does concern us, but you know, I think the vast majority of people are responsible, and they've learned habits. I think people have internalized the washing the hands, the personal hygiene, and all of it. And you know what? At the end of the day, we are a free society. We are not the People's Republic of China that goes and literally welds people's doors shut in their apartment buildings. And so we have to balance freedom, personal responsibility, with a public health imperative, and I think we're doing pretty well, certainly here in Alberta, on that.
All right, just on that, you talk about China. You know, the conservative leadership race is kicked off. I know you're not running in this thing, but it's back in. The Conservative Party asked Derek Sloan, who is one of the contenders, to apologize to our Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Theresa Tam, for asking, does she work for Canada or does she work for China? Not criticism of her, but questioning her loyalty. He refused. Should he apologize for that? Does that attitude belong in the Conservative Party of Canada?
Well, I think that was an offensive statement. Obviously, she works for Canada. I have had some differences with some of the positions that she's taken. I've been clear about those. We should all focus together on fighting and defeating the virus and protecting our economy. And we can deal with lessons learned when this is all over. I think there's going to be a need for great accountability for the World Health Organization and the People's Republic of China. And some public health officials who accepted inaccurate information that put us at a higher risk.
Just two quick things. There are actually some people are talking about suing China to compensate for this. The Chinese deny that. They said that they acted as quickly as possible. There's lots of criticism on that. Would you think that China should be financially liable for the virus that has hit the rest of the world?
Well, I think they are responsible. Listen, when they blocked travel from out of Wuhan to the rest of China, they did not block travel from Wuhan to the rest of the world. They wanted to protect the rest of China from the virus while they were still locking up whistleblowers and claiming there was no evidence of human-to-human transmission, while they were allowing the virus to spread from Wuhan to the rest of the world. There must be some accountability for that. We can't forget about that. When this is all over, there must be some accountability for it.
Premier, there is the Liberal government just passed a ban on what they call assault rifles. Over 1,500 different assault weapons are, as of now, banned. There's a 2-year amnesty, of course. What has been your reaction? They campaigned on this. After what happened in Nova Scotia, they say we can no longer delay. What's your take on this?
I think, first of all, this is regrettable timing. We should all be focused on combating the pandemic. I've got to really question the timing. Secondly, if the concern was really to prevent gun crime, then stop the importation of illegal guns from the United States. The significant majority of firearms that are used in the commission of crimes in Canada, especially handguns, for example, have been imported illegally from the United States. So instead of spending an enormous amount of resources to chase after legal, law-abiding Canadians who are collectors or hunters, how about putting those resources instead on the interdiction of contraband firearms in the country? And how about bringing back the tough mandatory minimum prison sentences the Harper government introduced for firearms offenses? So I think they're missing the target, so to speak.
Jason Kenney, I appreciate it very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Evan.